Yeah, good evening, everyone. Now, today's session is on data visualization. So, in this session, we will be learning about different graphs, different like how to plot graphs using Python, and what is the meaning like of using a particular graph. What is the motive of making a drawing a graph? So here, when we talk about representation of data, the data can be represented graphically, or if you are using non-graphical method or in a tabular format, you may do so, right? So let us see why we do so. Basically, when we have such kind of thing, when we have a huge amount of data, now this huge amount of data needs to be inculcated or integrated with like your model, your AI model. So it first it needs to be collected, then it needs to be organized, analyzed, and then interpreted and presented presentation of that particular data. So it's a kind of a discipline that we use in our model, that is statistics. So statistics is basically when we are going to collect the data, organize the data, analyze the data, and then it is going to help us in later on like how to get insight or valuable information out of it. So basically this is why we are doing so, because the amount of data is too large. Right. You cannot say like while reading an Excel sheet or a CSV file and you get the insights from that particular data. You can't do so. Why? Because it's like thousands of data is there, or you may say lakhs of data, lakhs of records are there, and you are going to use them and getting something out of it. So the better format is like you can have a visualization of this. Right. So let's start with it. Basically, data representation techniques are broadly categorized into two parts. Right. The first part is non-graphical technique. The second one is graphical technique. So when we talk about non-graphical technique, it is basically your tabular format. You have data, large amount of data set, and you represent it in a tabular format, like your tables, right? So you have some records, you have some rows and columns, and this is the basically the old format of representation when we use the this thing tabular format, right? Whereas when we talk about graphical format, it is basically easy to understand, right? And you can identify anything out of it very easily rather than exploring one by one data record from a tabular format. We are going to use like mm, any of the graphs, right, for representation of such larger data sets. So in this session, we would be talking about the different types of graphs and how we use those graphs, how we construct those graphs, and it is a graphical technique. So we are using Python and using Colabs. The package that we would be using is Matplotlib, right? So here there are different types of graphs like that we have is line graph, then bar graphs, pie charts, your scatter plots. There are other graphs also like your histograms, right? So one by one we are going to cover it. Let us start with first of all bar graphs. So here when we talk about bar graphs. So bar graph is what fact bar graph is a visual tool that basically used to compare the data among categories. Like if we want to compare the data of this with this or the data of this with this. So we can easily do so, and these are the categories which are represented on the x-axis. And the number of people, the amount of, you may say the, yeah, you may say the other bar is, that is the other axis is showing the number of people. Right. So corresponding the entries would be there. Like suppose I would say saucer, there are nine number of people. Right. For basketball, there are seven. For this one, tennis, there are five. And then we have 2 for hockey, and baseball we have, that is 6. So it is going to represent the different categories of data. So when we are going to have the categorical type of information, right, and that information to be represented, so we are going to use the bar graphs. So let us see like what are the rules of constructing the bar graph. The width of all bars or columns should be similar, means the width should be similar, right? All the bars should be placed on equal intervals, like we are placing it at like this, then this. So we are placing it on equal intervals. Then bars should be shared with colors or patterns to make them distinct and attractive. So it is optional basically. When we are talking about the bar should be presented by different colors, but the most common thing is the main thing is the 2 points, like when we are maintaining the width of the bars and the distance and it should be equal, like it should be placed on equal using equal distance, right? Now let's take an example, like suppose we are talking about the following table shows the defects during the production in a factory. So this is the type. Now these are the categories basically when we are going to talk about it, and these are the number of occurrences. So basically how to have the categories, I told you the on the y-axis we are going to have the categories, on the x-axis the number of occurrences, right? And then it is going to take the values and showing the categories, different categories, and that categories are showing the different number of frequencies. Like these are the occurrences of this. So this is depicting like this, right? So let us start with one of the bar graph that is using the different categories, right? So for that, I'm going to open the Colab, and here I'm going to have a notebook that is named as data visualization, right? So here, let us first of all import NumPy as MP. So the first method is like whenever you are using anything, you have to use the import the packages first of all. So this is our packages. Let us take the figure part first. We are going to plot the figure using the figure function. So here we have taken the instance of PL, that is matplotlib. So before going into this, let me explain you this part also, like how we are going to use the methods. So here we are going to have a pyplot that is basically contains a collection of functions that is in the your matplotlib library. Now with the help of these functions, we are going to plot the graphs in Python. So it basically like talks about your figure, it talks about the lines, X labels, Y labels, the title of the graph. It decorates the basically. It's for better clarity, or you may say better understanding of the graph. So I have already discussed this thing. Ki what is a bar graph or a bar chart? It is basically used for presenting the categorical type of data, and you can represent it horizontally also and vertically also, like this. So here, like if I'm going to take this example, these are the different categories of languages, and these are the number of students that have taken these, that have enrolled in this particular course, right? So here, let me explain you these. This is first of all we are going to have the library imported, and then we are going to use the functions. So now let us implement those functions. So here you are going to define the category. So whatever category you want to take, you may take it. So I am taking the courses categories. One variable we have taken a list of items, right? I will explain you also, like taking another variable wherein we are taking the strength of the student. So it is very much important. Like if you have taken how many categories, one, two, three, four, five, six, right? So here taking the six list of six students only, like number of students enrolled for this particular course. Now let us have the bar function. So bar function is usually used for plotting the bar graphs. Yeah. So here, let us see some of the things that done accurately or not. Then I'm going to explain you like how it works. So this is we have plotted, and first of all, what we have done, we have imported two libraries, that is NumPy and Matplotlib. The another part is what we have done. So here we have taken student. The variable name is like number of student enrolled. So here we are going to take the student as well. So here, first of all, we have imported the header files, or you may say packages, and then you have called the figure function for plotting the figure. And then what are the axes, like 0, 0 and 1, 1. So it is like mid of the take. It divides it into row, uh, height, width, and left and right. And then we have two dictionaries, the list of items. The first is wherein we have taken the number of subjects, names of the subject, and the second is number of students enrolled in that particular course. And then we have taken the bar function. The bar function is used to plot the bar graphs, right? And wherein we basically send the arguments, the list of names. And then PLT show method is used for basically displaying the graph. Let me comment it. So let's see, it is going to show it. Whether you are like when you are commenting it, you are going to have a container object which consists six artists. Now, what are those six artists? It is basically your six categories, right? So always remember, like, to have the mood understanding about the code. Right, now let us move to the next part. So in the next part, we will be learning about histograms. Let us take first histograms and then I will come to pie charts as well. So these are the scatter plots that we have. Okay, let us take from this slide. So histogram is what? Histogram is basically used for accurate representation of distribution of numerical data. So it is basically a kind of a bar graph only. But the only thing is here we have different concepts. You have bins, which basically representing the range of values, right? Then divide the entire range of value into number of intervals. Then count how many values fall into each interval. So it works like that. It is going to have, first of all, the segregation of bins, and then range of value, and then it is going to have like how many values are basically coming under this bin. So let us take this example. Following example plots a histogram of marks obtained by students in a class. Four bins are there, four intervals are there, right? Four intervals are there, that is 0 to 25, then 26 to 50, then 51 to 75, then 76 to 100. So here four bins are defined, and here the histogram shows the number of students falling in this range, right? So you have to first of all import the packages. Then the same function I am taking, that is subplot. Then what we have done, we have taken the number of students with the help of an array, right? So here, suppose the number of students are 22, 87, 5, 43, 56, and so on, right? So your bins information was already given. The bin was like this: 0 to 25, 26 to 50, 51 to 75, 76 to 100. So these are basically your bins part, right? And then here we can have the title part also. Now how it is going to have the title that is coming here, we have used the title function, and these are your x-axis. So you are going to make it as like this: x label and y. This is my x label, this is my x label, and this is my y. Now next thing is, you are going to use x ticks. Now why x ticks is because for stopping the overlapping of values. So here in the x ticks we are going to have the intervals, right? Whatever you have, the how you are going to segregate, what are the numbers that are going to be represented on your x-axis, right? Now here what we are going to do is, let's suppose our first bin is between 0 to 25, right? Our first bin is lying between 0 to 25, this one, right? Now this bin, how it is taking 5. So let us find out that. We are going to see our array first of all, and in this array we will be checking out what are the values that are coming from 0 to 25, right? Let us count. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So because the 5 values are coming under this particular interval, that's why the bin value is 5, because in this particular category 5 values are there, right? So let us move to the next one, that is 26 to 50. So 26, 50, half 50 is the range. So let us take how many values are there: 26 to 50, 51, 1, 38, 51, 27. Three values are coming over. So here in this bin you have the 3, right? This is how it is going to be. Let us take the next bin, 51 to 75. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 51 is also. So you have again the same bin, that is 5. Then we have 76 to 100. Now in between 76 to 100 you have the values, that is 87, 1. Then we have 79. So two values are coming. So your bin would be representing like this. This, it is 3, it is 5, and it is again 5, right? So it is why, because your like most of the students get confused why we are putting this, right? We are putting this because of the bins part. First you will check it out, like how many bins, how many values, how many frequencies are coming under this particular interval, right? And then once it is covered, then it is going to have in the next interval, right? So let us start with it. Let's have another code. So first of all, we will import the packages. So first of all, we have imported the packages, and in the next part, let us call the subplot function. So here we will be calling the subplot function. So always remember, like most of the students get confused here, how bins are made. What is the interval? So intervals are like this. See, whatever intervals are given that are treated as an intervals, right? What are intervals are given that we are going to give it as an bins part. It is very, very important. So let us take the next one. Your x value. Let us take the variable as a, and in that we can have our array part. So NP, why we have imported the numpy array? Because of frequency we are taking in an array. So I'm taking the same example that we have covered. So you will have no doubt and clear understanding about histogram. So make sure it is separated by commas. Now let's call the histogram function that is used for plotting the histogram, that is hist, right? Wherein we are going to give the information of x, a, and comma. We are going to define the bins value. Now bins are, I have already discussed, bins are nothing, bins are your intervals itself. So you are going to define the intervals within this bins. Let's have the bins part completed. Now let us have the title part. Let's set the title. So in title I'm going to give this histogram of, I would say, number of students, okay, and then let us take the x. So here we would be taking x same as our intervals on the x-axis. So we are taking like this. Next we have is our labels. So label I'm going to put it as marks. So here rather than writing this thing, we can have result of marks. Marks, and again y-axis में again you have the next part, that is set underscore y label, and let us put some label to it, that is number of. Yes, so here what we have done, we have actually taken the, first of all we have imported the file. Now we have not plotted it, we have taken the bins. Let us see, first of all we have taken the Yeah, it is showing that part is not representing. Let us see the error. So here we are having this much. Then figure dot a. Okay, not dot. This is yeah. So here always remember the dots and commas. Mostly we have because it's a syntax, you need to focus on it's a syntax identification, or you may say or any indentation is to be followed, right? So all things needs to be considered while implementing the program. Let me explain this program now. First of all, we have imported two files, two packages, and then we have used the figure subplot function, we have called that, and then we have created a numpy array in which we have given the number of marks of students. Then we have defined we have called the hist function, that is for plotting the histograms. And then in histograms, the bins are basically used for specifying the number of intervals, right? And then this is our title, this is our X label, this is our Y label, and corresponding we have the same graph that we have because the same data set is used, right? So the same data set we have used, like your 5 is the frequency of your first interval, then we have 3 frequency for the second interval, then 5, and then 2. Let's match with that. So again 5, 3, 5, and 2. So these are the number of students that are having marks in particular bin. Right. So bins are basically, when we are talking about bins are basically talks about the intervals and how many frequencies are coming over there in that particular interval. It is going to have like that, right? So number of, you may say the number of students that are falling under this particular bin, that needs to be specified, right? So here have completed with two graphs, and hope you have understood these two graphs and how to implement it. In the next session, we will be learning about more graphs, that is pie charts and scatter plots. So in the next session, we will be learning about pie charts and scatter plots and how we use them, what is the usage of them, and how to plot it, right? Hope you have understood the session.